Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. With 6 events this season, the Esports World Cup just went down. Atlanta FaZe took the victory, but over the course of the year, OpTic were the most successful team. They won Major 3, they won the World Championship, FaZe won Major 2 in the Esports World Cup. Those were the 2 teams to beat this season, but also debate as to exactly what it takes to become one of the best players in the world. And Shotzzy this season, despite not getting the MVP of the entire year, was the World Championship MVP and was considered OpTic's best player this year. JP Krez, of course, one of the coaches for OpTic, gives his point of view on exactly what separates Shotzzy from the rest of the pack. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Just before we look at some Lion Man cards, this Dodo sent to me or tweeted at me like last month, July 22nd, and I forgot to mention it, and I was just like, I don't know. Do you guys see anything here? Because I kind of, like, in this particular shot of Prez, I kind of see it. But, you know, let's swiftly move on from this. Will some of these players get spots next year back into the CDL? Accuracy, to me, is one of the interesting ones. His numbers are exactly what you'd expect from Accuracy, to be fair. Like, 73 rated overall, 0.9s, 0.85s, this type of stuff. Good hill time, sure, but damage per 10, kills per 10, not exactly great. And that's fine if you have an AR alongside you who's trying. Now, Accuracy at the start of the season was pretty damn good. He was like a 1.05 player at the start of the year when Awakening was struggling. They made the change, Awakening goes, Gunless comes in, but even, you know, in the later part of Awakening stint, Accuracy had somewhat regressed. We know that there was a lot of personal stuff going on behind the scenes for Accuracy, and thankfully I believe his mother has recovered to a great extent now, and I believe that when that was all developing behind the scenes that people didn't know about publicly, that was probably affecting his play. So, like, I want to kind of take that into account to some extent, but it's not like these numbers are outliers over the last few years. Accuracy's basically been the same player for the last 2 seasons now, and that's been the question. What happens next for Lamar? Is it time to become a coach? Everyone knows that Accuracy will be when he decides to be a phenomenal coach. I presume that's what he wants to do after he retires. It would make just way too much sense. And we are 99.9% sure that he was coaching OpTic leading up to the World Championship this year. He knows Kenny, he knows Pred on a great personal level, and we're pretty sure that he was working with the OpTic boys. Pred might deny it, OpTic might deny it, because technically he was contracted to the Minnesota Rockers, so he wasn't really meant to be helping another team. I think that's what was going on anyway, but at least seems like that potentially made some sizable impact for the OpTic camp, and, you know, here we are again with Accuracy dropping these kind of numbers. So the question is, does he get another opportunity next year? Do they field another... Like, does not one organization come in and decide, all right, we're going to field another Accuracy special where we bring in Lamar, we bring in another AR that should bring some slang, and then we bring in 2 younger SMGs to help him mold. And it's a viable option, but just my feeling is, I look at that Seattle team and I see Accuracy, Mac, Pred and Sib, right? And that team, they won an event, sure, but it was very up and down, that roster. They got their top 12s, and I'm like... Are you realistically nowadays going to form a team? Like, if Accuracy's AR duo is Sib, and you've got Pred as one of your SMGs, I feel like that results of that Seattle team are as good as it's possible to get nowadays from a team that you build around Accuracy, and it's very unlikely you're going to get talents like Pred and Sib again, especially wherever Lamar might go. So... And like, it depends what Accuracy thinks, whether, you know, he decides he's done with playing or whatever. But I think that if there's any time for him to step into a coaching role, now might be the chance, especially when there's an option open over at Los Angeles Thieves, right? They just got rid of Jacob, or Jacob basically stepped away, so there's an option there. Of course, FaZe won champs, so there's the World Cup's probably nothing doing there. But even OpTic, right? Like, you know, when I've said Accuracy to coach OpTic, I've not said kick out Karma. I'm thinking Karma and Accuracy and JP. That to me is the ultimate trifecta, and that would, I would say, bring OpTic's coaching staff in line with the amount of staff that FaZe and Toronto and even like Cloud9 have, for example. So that's what I expect to see, to be fair, this off-season, but time will tell. This is Afro, by the way, who was on that Thieves team. You know, a great player in his prime. And his prime was, unfortunately, as is the case with many European SMGs over the last few years, very much short-lived. Like, he had a horrible time on LAN. Apart from his S&D, which was pretty good, certainly online, it was actually very good this season. His respawn wasn't so good. His pace was basically non-existent. I'm not sure what happened with Afro. I know that he did do a tweet to say, look, I'm a free agent for this season. he effectively implied that some of the out-of-game distractions that potentially have affected his play over the last couple of years are no longer there. So, you know, I'm hoping that we get to see Afro back to his best, but, you know, it may be not happening anymore. aBeZy, it's unlikely we're ever going to see him back to his best, but at least he's achieved a lot, right? He's two-time world champion. And for aBeZy, there is still money to be made down there in challenges. Like, you can just grind out challenges and make some bread, but this was his season this year on Surge. Wasn't obviously particularly long-lived. 7-15 overall record, but just a bad season really again. And obviously there's questions about him as a teammate, even just outside of the in-game stuff. The Surge stuff comes to an end. It seems unlikely to me that aBeZy is going to walk back into the league, but Illy is probably going to go and get a spot. So, you know, maybe it's possible that aBeZy does as well, but it's difficult to say exactly what's next for his career, I guess. This is a question on Attach. Of the 4 players I've mentioned, Attach had the best season here by a country mile. And his overall numbers were very good. His LAN numbers weren't as strong, actually. Like, his pace wasn't as strong on LAN, even though the numbers in terms of KD were relatively similar. My feeling is with Attach, as much as I'm a big fan of his, I think there was a tendency this season for the fans to slightly overrate his play, as was the case maybe with Temp over the last few years on this Vegas Legion team that's now going to be the Falcons. But I still think Attach played well enough and was probably their best player over the course of the season to show that he's still got what it takes to be part of even potentially a championship winning roster. But it's just, there are only so many AR slots to fly around, and who gives Attach an offer next season? I think there could be options out there, but it's not going to be on Vegas because they're going for the full-blown Falcons route, as we saw just the other day. As I said, with the accuracy situation, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any opportunities on FaZe. Obviously, Simp saying happy birthday to Coach Crowder. There's been some debate on the way that FaZe kind of run their setup, really, and the fact that Crowder isn't there for all the scrims, isn't local to the team, but RJ is, and of course, they've got Tupac, the search and destroy coach as well. That's why I'm saying that OpTic, you know, they could potentially think about going for Karma and accuracy and JP, because JP can be the analyst, and Karma and accuracy can share the kind of coaching responsibilities as Crowder and RJ do on FaZe, as, let's say, you know, on New York, Sender and, let's say, ReeaL do, and then split the duties in terms of in-game stuff, out-of-game stuff, and all these other factors that are in play. But I wanted to talk about this Shotzzy situation, right, because he obviously had a phenomenal season. Probably the 4th best player over the course of the year. I would say that Simp and HyDra and Scrappy were, you know, there or thereabouts. And even Scrappy at the Esports World Cup had a pretty ridiculous event, right? I mean, here's his World Cup stats, where, again, we're seeing, you know, crazy numbers, very high levels. He only gets a 93 overall here. That's because the way it's calculated is based on these numbers in the box, not the KD. So, effectively, his kills per 10 here in Hardpoint was only a 93 rated compared to all the other ARs, which maybe that was affected by Cellium playing faster or whatever, but yeah, 26.2 wasn't the highest, which is kind of incredible for this event. And so he was 93 overall for this, and 90 overall for this, and 81 for First Bloods. And then when you add up all the numbers, you eliminate the lowest number, so you'd eliminate the 84, the 74, and the 90. You'd add up the 93, 93, 90, 81, 99, and 97. Add those all up, divide by 6. That gets you to 92, and then plus 1 for the overall record. That's the 93. But, you know, even then, the numbers were still ridiculous. Shotzzy did not have the best event out there in Riyadh. Obviously, you know, his final series against FaZe, the 0.65, not the best. But, you know, Shotzzy's coach, JP, does go into detail, kind of talking about his impact on the map, but also what it takes to be consistent and why Shotzzy falls into many of these categories.
What does it take to be a consistent player as a sub? Playing off of your teammates, playing around your teammates, being in tradable positions, making the right play that needs to be made at the certain moment. If you're the one to do, or if you're the one that's needed to do something, being selfless sometimes, being selfish sometimes. If you want to, if you need like someone to bait for you, it all depends on the situation. But that's why I think Ant's a very, very talented player, because he is very good at reading the situation and knowing pretty much what exactly to do in each situation. Once again, what do you know? Ant making plays through blue to be a nuisance on the LAT side. Look at the arrows, bro. Instead of being pushed up, spawn killing, like technically here, 5 could have gone over here, started spawning killing here. Number 7 could have looked from time down through white. It could have a guy DJ as well. But now all of them are focused on trying to kill Ant. What does this do? It opens up space for the rest of these guys to come off spawn. Now he gets one, he ends up dying, but look at the space that these guys now are able to get rather than just getting spawn killed. I don't think people talk about this enough. You make space, you make chaos around the other side of the map, and you completely fuck over the enemy team's mindset because now they have to look for you. And is probably the best player in the league at doing that.
Interesting analysis in a way, because I don't think JP's wrong on what he's saying. I'm just not sure that Shotzzy's exactly the man to talk about when it comes down to consistency, right? Because I think inevitably the way that Shotzzy plays, it's going to breed some degree of inconsistency. Pred is the player that should probably be, you know, more consistent, just, you know, on the playstyle, the fact that he's not quite as fast. In the same way that aBeZy is, like, you can be consistent in your play, your strategy, your style, your execution can be similar. But just, I think the way that Shotzzy naturally plays, it's not going to be as consistent as the more like slaying, let's say, SMGs, like your Preds or your Simps or maybe your HyDras. HyDra is always absurdly impressive to me because it's not like he is the Simp to the aBeZy or even like the Shotzzy to the Pred on some level. HyDra kind of does both. That's why, to me, if I'm going to look at the best SMG in the game, I think I'm still going to say HyDra. Because he does manage to be ludicrously consistent HyDra, despite the fact that he's also playing at an extremely high pace. But look, Shotzzy definitely has many of these characteristics. Obviously, there is always something to be said a bit on Shotzzy's playstyle, right? The whole TikToksy element is always going to be there, but JP and the coaching staff on OpTic, they recognize that, they know that, and they realize that, you know, you can't just take Shotzzy and basically strap him to a lead and not let him run off, because if you do, you're going to massively limit his potential as a player. So you can't be doing that. But, you know, there was some debate on this, of course. As Soap says, controversial character on some level, he's not consistent at all. One good event. No, I don't think he had one good event. I mean, Major 3, he was great, and he won the MVP of that event as well, didn't he? And he won the World Championship MVP too. So we definitely didn't have one good event. And he was pretty damn good the whole year. And as I say, behind Scrap, HyDra, Simp, Shotzzy was the fourth best player, but I think he was quite clear-cut the fourth best player personally compared to those other guys, and obviously at the World Cup didn't have his best event, but you know, Soap's getting cooked in the replies here by Benny, so enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Just one final thing here on Pred's tier list of best Call of Duty titles, or, you know, from best to worst. Now, not gonna lie, this is pretty faded to me, in my opinion. Method says World at War was the most underrated COD ever. This is what he comes up with at the end. So, lots of games in the GOAT tier. Kind of cool to see some representation from the likes of Modern Warfare 3, the original one in here. I would limit the GOAT tier to maybe 3 titles, maybe 3 or 4 titles, and you know, for me the GOAT tier is like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, you know what I'm saying? Like, something like that anyway. Black Ops 3 is certainly there. Like, Black Ops 3, you know where I'm putting Black Ops 3. I don't need to say it again. But, you know, I do love a good tryout game, and hopefully this game is good. Vanguard in the great tier, I do get it for Pred, because I guess there's a bit of bias involved there for Pred, because he was pretty damn good at Vanguard, and had a good season on that game. Ghost in the great tier, I mean, I guess he's put it largely due to the good search and destroy on that game, so I do kind of see it. But, you know, I thought it was interesting as we go further down. MW19 here, even COD 4 in the good tier. MW2, trash is Infinite Warfare and World at War. I think Infinite Warfare personally gets heavily underrated by many fans, and that might be a hot take because it was hated at the time, but I do firmly stand by that. Cold War, he only puts in the playable tier. I think I'd put it high. I mean, I'd certainly have it much higher than... I don't understand why Vanguard's this high personally. Like, Cold War would be above Vanguard to me. Cold War to me would be in the good tier. I think I'm probably more critical on this. Like, I wouldn't have put so many of the GOAT tier or like up in the great tier, whatever. Like, Cold War to me was a good game. I don't think it was great. Maybe it was great. It was between the two. From a competitive point of view, it was so much better than what we've had recently, to be fair. So maybe there's an argument there. But anyway, this is what Pred comes up with. Thought it was pretty controversial, but thought I'd mention it anyway, because that's the type of stuff we like to do. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Just a bit of a throwback to close out the video. People were talking about this on the Reddit today. This was a post from Scrappy at June 21st, 2022. Before he was in the league, of course. Scrappy still maintains that he thinks that Vanguard might have been his best game, which is pretty scary to think about when you consider some of you know, what he's done in the league for the last couple of years. But Scrappy was making the play here, round 11 to win the game, and Drazah at the time was in the replies saying, "Oh, GOAT, you're the man," type thing, and then Scrappy hits the reply with the Spider-Man thing. So how times changed, shall we say, over the last couple of years in terms of the drama between these two today. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.